All right, you guys, we're back in the weeds of the Origin buy schedule spreadsheet here. We have filled out the other section now for the guys that are going to be playing in round 17 who have had their buy. And we've obviously spoken about the guys we can look to potentially trade out this week and heading into the next few weeks. So that's not going to be a focus here. The focus here is going to be around the guys that we're potentially going to pick up heading into round 17 and those guys in those teams that we can hold over the next bunch of weeks and into round 17, potentially round 18, and then move them on from there. So if we're going to start up top with the Eels, we've got a few options here, plenty actually. This is our best team for different options heading into 17 in terms of their guns and also those cheapies as well and mid-ranges. So the cheapies that we look to hold or potentially pick up, Will Penasini. Bailey Simons is someone I didn't speak about in that recent video, but I can understand why a few people are interested in him. My thing with Bailey is just that he had a spectacular game against his old club, so I'm not sure if that was something to do with that more than his ability to play really well for the Eels on a regular basis. Maybe that's unlocked his potential as a player there, as a winger for this side, and with Sivo coming back, it makes it a very interesting one as well. So he's at a very awkward price, Maika Sivo, and could be potentially an option heading into 17. I'd like to see a few games out of him first, and if the Eels go on a bit of a run, he's someone that can score a lot of tries and be really, really good for anyone's squad. So they're the three options in the cashies and the middles for the Eels there. If we move to the guns, we have a few here with obviously Reid Mane, who's been playing really, really well lately. I started with him and I think I'm going to be bringing him back in this week, which is sad, but it is what it is. Hopefully he can average around that 55 for the rest of the year, playing every single game from here on in. Dylan Brown is obviously one that's a guy that was scuffling a little bit, unfortunately, for that middle part of the season so far, and obviously had a really, really good game last in round 12 there. So he's definitely a great option. He's probably not in the top 5 to 7 halves, and that's the only worry, is that coming into the back end of the year, probably going to want a bunch of really gun halves, whether that's Munster, DCE, Cleary, Hines as like your 4. And then potentially guys like obviously him and Moses, which we'll speak about as well. So that's just the only worry with Brown. And also Moses, we'll speak about them as a joint there. Moses is a little bit more inconsistent in terms of his, he could get around that. He gets at high 60s and then he'll get like the low 40s, whereas Brown has a couple of 30s in him at the moment with the random 80. So however you want to play that one out, they're two guys that could be selected this week. If they're definitely going to be a clear bench player at worst. So up to you whether you want to go with them or not. The next option there is obviously IPAPS, and he needs to be in everyone's team over the next few weeks. However you can get to him, he needs to be put into your side. Guthos is the other option that we could potentially think about, but not someone that we're going to be too interested in, I think, just with the potential for so many better wing fullbacks that you could bring into your side at the moment. So that's the Eels. Secondly, here we talk about the Storm, and we have a few potential guys here to think about, with Brandon Smith as being one of them. Just his inconsistency at the moment is what's keeping me away, but he could be someone that if he goes on a bit of a run, potentially in round 17, if we get a game or two out of him, he's not really going to be making too much cash anyways. He's got obviously middle of the rung break even. So I think we can wait on Brandon Smith there for sure. Coach replacement is the next one as an option. It could be Warbrick, it could be whoever, but just be aware that when Pap comes back, we're going to lose Meaney to the wing, and that will be to Xavier Coates' wing. So just be aware of that. That's whoever comes in this week for Xavier is potentially a 1 to 2 week proposition for you. Okay, that's that. Joshy King, the other guy that you can hold potentially if you'd like to. If you've held him this far, then I think you probably could almost go all the way to 17, potentially 18, and move him on from there. Most people would have traded him out, but if you didn't, that's something to think about. And then in the guns category that aren't playing Origin, it's just Jerome Hughes. And I think it's just a question of when it's going to be rather than if, because I think that he is going to be one of those, very similar to Brown and Moses, and you get him at a cheaper price. So for someone that's going to be playing the rest of the way, he's going to have to carry a little bit when guys like Munster are out. Potentially he might not back up this week. Potentially he doesn't back him up in 18. He won't be playing in 17, that's for sure. So you're going to need some decent scores out of Hughes. If we've spoken about at length here of the types of games he had last year, and he hasn't gone backwards as a player by any stretch. He's obviously as important as anyone in that Storm, in that Storm system, being an 88% winner, I think, when he plays. So incredible there. He'll be fine. Might just be a matter of when we're going to pick him rather than if, as I said. Okay, Sharks. I don't see any midi cash cows. In terms of guns to think about, we could put Talakai in there as well. All right, we'll do it. Fine. I'm still burning on Talakai. But Nicho Hynes, obviously, he is a decent chance of being 18th man again, but everyone has him, so just got to hold on to him. McInnes, obviously a great pick as well. Mulatalo, Ramian, and Talakai. So the 3 outside backs that are close to decent, great options, but majority of us have guys that are scoring as good or better in our centres, whether it be Aitken, whether it be Burton, these types of guys, for example, and then probably a couple of wing fullbacks that are scoring better than Mulatalo. So that's the thoughts on them. A few people have been asking me about them. They're solid options without being incredible. That's why they're there. All right, Bunnies. We got Ilias, I think, as a hold, towards after round 17. Get his 17 score and go from there. Arrow is going to be playing during that time as well, unless he's caught up to Origin. So if you have him, hold on to him now. He's been scoring pretty well, getting that big minutes on the edge. And then Silavahavili we spoke about as well in the Cash Cows video. A solid one, could score decent around that 40 mark and make you some cash over the next bunch of weeks. Guns to think about. Campbell Graham's been spectacular for a bunch of weeks now. I'm pretty high on him. He did move to the left-hand side last time. Not sure if that's going to continue. But if it does, they have a very damaging left side, and he did really well, helping out Johnson for tries and scoring himself. So that's that. Cody Walker could boom or bust at any point, and this might be his time of the year. He gets the rest of the year now to play. We'll see how that goes. So that's the 2 options there. In the middies, cashies for Tigers, we see Luke Garner and Luke Garner only. Spoke about him. I think he's an okay option. Probably a little bit too expensive. Has a little bit of money to make. Can score decent, but has 30s in him as well. So if you're picking up someone at 490k, that's what you might expect from him. Hastings and Brooks are the 2 to think about in the Tigers, and then potentially Dewey if he comes back. But I think there's a good chance he plays in the centres rather than breaking up the Hastings and Brooks, unless Hastings is actually really badly injured, which we know it's not great. But yeah, that's that. For him there, Broncos, we see Tamari Martin. If you still own him, it's probably worth just holding at this point. If you traded him out last week, don't worry about it. Ezra Mam, just the worry at the moment is Gamble has a little bit of an injury. So does he come straight back into the squad? Does Mam keep his spot? Few things to think about on that front. So if you're looking at trading him in, just be aware that there are risks associated with Ezra. Walters, if you have him, probably just hold all the way to 17 now and trade out some of the guys that aren't playing in 17 who are that mid-range, lower range kind of player. Adam Reynolds, obviously a great option as well. He's had his rest time now after his injury. He should be getting back to scoring mid-50s and will be in that somewhere in that top 10 for halves, potentially top 7 or 8. So definitely a solid option along with Moses and Brown, but Reynolds is going to be that bit more consistent. If you like that kind of player that's going to be a low to mid-50s kind of guy and consistent, then Reynolds is your man with the Broncos playing really, really well. Okay, a couple teams to go. We got the Dragons. So a few we spoke about, Cody Ramsey, Amone, and also Michael Molo. All okay options. I think Ramsey's the best one out of here. Molo, we're not sure on minutes, so he could do really well. Might go not as well. Is what it is. In terms of guns to think about, you've got Moses Sully, Lomax, these types of guys who are just okay options in this type of scenario. And then we've got the Knights there, and one to select here, and that, I believe, is David Klemmer, who has been terrific. And if you need a mid that's fairly expensive, you've got him. You've got Papali'i. You have McInnes as like your 3 real clear options heading into this week and heading into round 17, I think, as pickups. But obviously, the majority of us have a lot of middles and edges at the moment that could really do a role, play a role for us. There's a lot of round 13 guys in that middle and edge position. So if one of them happens to get injured, for example, if you have a lot of them ready and don't want to bring in another, then maybe wait till one of them gets suspended or injured, and then you can pick up Clem or McInnes or these types of guys. That would be my suggestion here. So let me know your thoughts around these picks, guys. These are obviously the selections around cheapies, the mid-rangers, and also the guns to potentially pick up, and those guys that you can hold through this period as well. So we're looking for somewhere between 10 and 13 players for round 17 without destroying your team to make sure it's great coming into round 18, 19, 20, and beyond. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you all for being here. For those that watch every video, thank you so much. And we'll catch you in the next one, guys. See you later.